Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is another in my practice session series for the Red Hat Certified Specialist in Linux Diagnostics and Troubleshooting exam EX342. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click the subscribe button. Also, a reminder that these are my practice sessions for the exam. My exam is about a week and a half away, and so I'm going through all of the listed objectives and trying to either explain the concept behind the objective or do some examples of the objective and see where I stand with them. At the end of the video, I'll do a little assessment, and hopefully I'll feel confident with the objective, but if not, I still have a week and a half to fill in some last knowledge gaps to be better prepared for the exam. These should not be considered tutorials, nor should they be considered authoritative information. I myself am still learning, and I'm doing this as a part of my, my final preparation for the exam. So while I do try to have the information accurate, because hopefully I haven't learned something wrong for the exam, these should not be used as tutorials or be considered authoritative information. So continuing with the diagnose and troubleshoot system startup issues objectives, we're going to look at manage kernel modules and their parameters. So let's go into, we'll use lab server 3 for this. There's not a whole lot to do with this, I think, from the perspective of what we would have to do on the exam. Of course, this manage kernel modules and their parameters is pretty specific with this. Modules themselves, if I recall correctly, lib modules, yeah. All right, so these modules lib modules, and then you have a directory for each of your kernels. So we'll do the, we're on the 30 one, so we'll go into 4.18.5.3.30, go into kernel, and this is split up between all sorts of directories. Let's go into block. It'll probably have some storage stuff in here. Oh, yeah, so this .ko.xz files, these are your modules. Let me go into kernel. There'll be more stuff in there, or so one would think. We can go into net. I know there's some stuff in net. Let's look up IPv4. Yeah, there we go. So plenty of kernel modules in there. You will probably not, I would imagine, be doing much with these files themselves, but you might have to not sure if install is really the right word, but it's basically like activate the kernel module. And you can do mod probe. Take a look at the man page for mod probe. The mod probe command kind of makes this a little bit easier for you to do this. What I don't like is, see, I think of mod probe as just give me information, but it's actually taking some actions. No, mod probe -a will install. -r is going to remove it. I think is ls mod. There it is. So ls mod will show us all of the currently loaded kernel modules. You can use mod probe to get some information about it, which can be useful. Let's take, let's see what nothing's really using that. Let's get one that has some usage. snd. Let's see if we can get some information about this. So mod probe, I think it's -p. We'll find out. Nope. I know there was one option that will list some information about your modules. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different command, mod info. That's what I want. There we go. And this shows us some parameters and the type of value that it will take, like integer. This is, I don't know what this module is. This tells us. So sound architecture stuff. Shows us where the file name is, which is nice. And what we're going to do, if we want to unload this module, -r with mod probe, of course the module is going to be in use. Look at ls mod. Let's find one that has nothing using it. We'll do the serial, or probably IO raw. Serial IO raw is probably what that stands for. See if we can unload this. Probably going to be nothing to do now, but I forgot to do my verbose. So that is now no longer. If I were to do ls mod again, grep for serial, it's not going to be there. If we're instructed to add a module, mod probe -a, I'm going to do v so we get some output to it. And really what's happening is insmod is running to insert this module. And then if I were to remove it again and do the verbose output is using rmmod. Now, making changes or adding and removing kernel modules this way is not going to be persistent. If we want to make something persistent, what we have to do is go into etc modprobe.d, and here we have a couple of configuration files. So if I wanted to, I'm not going to do this because it's going to break stuff, but let me do this. If there's any virt.io network thing that would be useful. Let's see what's in tuned. I actually expected to see far more stuff in here. All right, that's not really giving me what I want. But let's say that I had some module name and I've dumped it, the .ko.xz file into the appropriate directory. And we wanted to make this module load as a part of we wanted that ensmod, we want to make that permanent. We would have a configuration file. I'm just going to call it foo.conf. We would use options, module name, and then if there's any other parameters that need to go with it, such as bar equals 1 or something like that. And by having it in modprobe.d, then that module is going to be loaded as a part of the boot process, or once the kernel comes up and is loading all of its modules. So I'm going to rm foo.conf, and I'm fairly sure if you forget about this, there should be a modprobe.d.5 man5 for modprobe.d, and that gives you some information about what to do with this. And typically we're going to be doing options, module name, and then whatever the options are. One thing that may be useful that you would find on this needing to do, there's a package called kernel docs. See if I can, it might actually already be installed. RPM QA grep kernel. Nope. So DNF install, I think it's just kernel doc. Or no, kernel docs. Let's see if it will find that. I thought it was kernel doc. Or kernel docs. Must be kernel doc. Okay. This is not something I've used very much, just in day-to-day activities, but when I was having to learn about configuring kernel modules and such, I learned about this and found it quite useful. Sometimes I'll forget where the files and such are, so we'll do rpm ql kernel doc, not qa, ql. I don't know why I piped that. All right, user share doc is where I need to go, which would make sense. And we're going to have a kernel doc for, in this case, the particular kernel that I have installed. And this has all sorts of stuff in it. And the thing I'm looking for in here, it might just be in some of these. There was an example that some of my training had me do, and the documentation I needed for the kernel module was within this. So let's go into virt. Maybe something here that's of use. Let's get paravirtops.txt. Maybe not. I think the thing to keep in mind is you can get some documentation out of this. It may have been USB. I thought it was USB. Maybe not. Oh, this is going to bother me now. I wish I remembered what I had to use kernel doc to look up to get the parameters I needed for a particular module. So, alas, I'm not going to waste your time by sitting here and thinking about it, but just going to keep in mind that kernel-doc would be something that might come in useful when you're working with your kernel modules. But for the objective, manage kernel modules and their parameter. Modprobe and modinfo are going to be the main commands that you're using. You can use ensmod and rmmod, but I would use modprobe for that. And then to make your changes to kernel modules persistent, you will need to make your configuration files in etc modprobe.d whatever.conf. And typically you'll do options, module name, and parameters for the module, but there are other things you can put in that as well. And then should you need a reference, you have your man pages for modprobe. So hopefully you found this video useful in some way. If you did, make sure you do click like. Otherwise, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video and invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click the subscribe button and ring the bell when you do. And thank you for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.